Sunday, July 21st. I was walking up an aisle at work when I recognized Caleb, a guy I went to high school with. I hid behind a product display and was about to turn around when he greeted me with a middle finger wave. I had a few classes with him, and we played football together, but I never liked him. He was a stereotypical jock type that I hated. I greeted him with a fake smile and began the obligatory small talk. "I'm watching my aunt's apartment for a few days. Do you want to get a few people together to come over?" I still didn't like the guy, but I never passed on a place to party. "I'll hit you up when I'm off, and we'll work out the details," I said, as I continued up the aisle. I got off a few hours later and strolled to the payphone outside, quarters in hand. I paged Jake and Mark, then leaned back against the brick wall, awaiting a return call. I was in no rush. My bootlegger was a cashier named Frank, and he didn't get off for another half hour. I preferred to use Frank because he never said no, never asked me to purchase him anything, and always returned with exact change. He was also fucking crazy. And when I say crazy, I mean insane. One night, Frank hosted a small party in his apartment that he shared with his twin brother Doug. About 10 people were there, drinking and playing card games. I brought a girl I was hoping to fuck later that evening. Without warning, Frank gathered everyone into the living room around the TV and pressed play on the VCR. After a few unfocused, blurry moments, the homemade video came into focus and revealed Frank and Doug mutilating a dead cat on a deserted road in the mountains. I wasn't sure if the cat was real at first, but a close-up of the cat confirmed it was no prop. They were picking it up with a shovel, throwing it across the road, and used an axe to hack off parts of its tail. The grand finale was them loading a handgun and shooting the feline a few times in the head and torso. I looked back at Frank in complete horror, and he was just standing in the kitchen with an eerie smile on his face. The party concluded a few minutes after the tape ended. Needless to say, I didn't get the opportunity to fuck that girl. In fact, she never spoke to me again after that night. Since then, I kept my distance from Frank, except for alcoholic purchases. I guess being an underage alcoholic made me resort to drastic measures, like associating with potential serial killers. The phone finally rang, and I quickly answered it. It was Jake. We put together a plan for the night's activities. "Go home and get ready. I'll be there in a half," Jake stated. After Frank had purchased my alcohol, I drove home, showered, got dressed, and was sitting on the sidewalk in front of my house in under 25 minutes. I tossed pebbles into the street, waiting for Jake to arrive. I finally heard his car from around the corner. The engine made an awful squealing sound each time Jake pressed on the gas. I stood up and checked the time on my pager. He was only a few minutes late. "Sorry, I was waiting for Samantha to call me," he said through the open passenger window. "Samantha? I think you know her," he responded. I did, in fact, know who she was. I just didn't know they were talking. I had seen her in the neighborhood and at the park a few times. She was a couple years younger and going to be a freshman when school started back up in the fall. She was gorgeous, and I was somewhat jealous Jake was hooking up with her even though I had a girlfriend. "Yeah, I think so." "Cool, she wants to hang out." We picked up Samantha, then Mark and another friend, Andre, and arrived at the apartment complex a little after 10. After pounding on the wrong door and scaring an elderly, senile woman, we found the correct building and apartment. The party consisted of Caleb, Jake, Samantha, Mark, Andre, myself, 2 cases of Old Style, a bottle of Southern Comfort, and a quarter bag of weed. I also had a minuscule amount of meth that Mark forgot in my ashtray after Warped Tour. I didn't have enough for everyone, so I was keeping it a secret. My plan was to snort lines throughout the night, then give the rest to whoever was going to drive home as an aid to sober up. The first few hours were like any other party I'd been to since freshman year. Drinking, doing shots, listening to music, and playing drinking games. A newly rolled joint was passed around the circle every half hour or so. As the night progressed, we divided into groups. Jake and Samantha retreated into the bedroom, Caleb and Mark played poker in the kitchen, and Andre and I argued about music. Andre was the type of person that would take a stance on a topic and fight tooth and nail that he was right. If he was standing in front of a red house, He could declare it was blue and make arguments to support his side. It could be entertaining at times, but at other times I wanted to strangle him. Tonight's topic was 1970s music, and that it was the pinnacle of rock music, and that it would never be surpassed. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and The Wall, Led Zeppelin 4 and Physical Graffiti, The Stones, The Clash, and Sex Pistols. Fuck, I could go on forever, he said as he took a hit off a joint. The Sex Pistols and The Clash? Two of the most overrated bands in history, I said, laughing. He was about to erupt with a rebuttal when, bam, bam, bam. Everyone looked at each other and back to the front door. I ran over to the stereo and pressed pause, and the room was instantly silent. I thought the noise could have been coming from the headboard in the bedroom. Bam, bam, bam. Lakewood Police Department, open the door, a voice yelled. I began thinking of an exit strategy. Bum rush the cops, jump out the tiny bathroom window, hide in the hallway closet. Everyone be cool, Caleb whispered as he tiptoed to the front door. That's when I remembered Caleb was a 911 dispatcher for Lakewood Police Department. A few hours ago, he told us a story about how he was friends with most of the Lakewood police officers. He even bragged that he got pulled over drunk a few weeks earlier and should have received a DUI, but talked his way out of it because he was a dispatcher. 1 second, Caleb yelled. Should we hide the alcohol? I whispered. No, don't worry about it. We'll be fine, he said, his voice full of confidence. I got off the couch and made my way to the kitchen so that I wouldn't be in plain sight once the front door opened. Caleb opened the door only a few inches, making his face visible to the cops outside. He started explaining that he worked for the same police department as them. I don't know who you are, so open this door, go sit down, and shut the fuck up, one officer yelled. That was a serious problem. I had enough meth in my pocket to put me in jail for a substantial amount of time, and if I knew Jake, he was most likely fucking a minor in the bedroom and committing statutory rape. I had to decide if I was going to alert Jake about the police presence or escape into the bathroom to flush the meth down the toilet. I decided on the selfish route. I'd save myself, then save Jake if time permitted. I ran down the hallway and kicked the bathroom door open, Chuck Norris style, while I simultaneously searched my pockets for the tiny Ziploc baggie. I searched both pockets multiple times and finally discovered the baggie in my right pocket. I thought about hiding it in the bathroom, but decided against it. I kissed the baggie and flushed the toilet as it hit the water. I ran out of the bathroom to the bedroom door. Are you guys drinking or smoking marijuana tonight? I overheard a cop ask from the living room. I pushed the door open and saw Jake's bare ass bouncing up and down on the bed with Samantha completely naked on all fours. They both swung their heads around in unison, and he was about to yell at me when I put my hand up to stop him. The 5-0 is here, so you guys might want to stop fucking and put some clothes on. I quietly shut the door, attempting not to alert the cops of the activity going on in the bedroom. Then, I walked back into the living room where I was promptly instructed by one of the police officers to sit down. He then turned his attention back to Caleb. I'm not going to ask you again. Is there anyone else in this apartment? Asked the cop, sticking an index finger in Caleb's face. Fearful of losing his job, Caleb answered as honestly as he could. I believe there are 2 people having sexual intercourse in the bedroom, sir. I wanted to punch Caleb in the face. That dumb motherfucker essentially put Jake's penis right back inside Samantha. Go sit the fuck down, the cop instructed Caleb as he swiftly walked to the bedroom door. I crossed my fingers, praying that my warning was enough time for them to get dressed and proper. Lakewood Police Department, I'm giving you 5 seconds to open the door, or else I'm coming in. I could see him start the countdown in his head. 5, 4, 3, 2. Jake swung open the door and stood there, fully clothed, hair-styled, with a smile. He looked composed, and not like he was just having sex less than 60 seconds before the cop knocked on the door. Possible disaster averted. What were the 2 of you doing in there? Talking, Jake responded. Only talking? Nothing else? You guys were not having sexual relations in there? No, sir. I'm a virgin, Jake said with a straight face. I had to bite my lip not to burst out in laughter. The cop examined Jake up and down before telling him and Samantha to join me on the couch. The next hour consisted of the cops documenting our personal information and handing out minor and possession tickets one by one. After they had finished writing the tickets, they told Andre and Caleb to pour the remaining alcohol down the kitchen sink. Since Samantha was a minor, she was out after curfew, and the cops had to escort her home. I imagined her parents would not be happy to have a 2 a.m. visit from the police, telling them that their daughter was out getting drunk. I didn't envy her. They gave us a final warning before they left. "And don't even think about leaving this apartment, because if one of you steps as much as a foot into the hallway, I'm going to arrest all of you," the officer yelled as he slammed the front door. We sat in silence for the next 20 minutes or so until Caleb spoke. "You guys have to go." I was about ready to suggest that, but I was worried that the cops were waiting for us. I was willing to take that risk. We just needed to figure out one important item. Who was going to drive? We quickly came to the consensus that we were at the same level of inebriation, and the decision would be determined by an old-fashioned game of rock, paper, scissors. I beat Jake with rock and Andre with scissors in the first 2 games, so I was safe. Jake and Andre glared at each other, then slapped their fists into their palms to begin the countdown. Jake played scissor, while Andre played paper, and just like that, the fate of our safety was determined by a playground game. "Fuck!" Andre shouted as he threw his hands up in the air. I was secretly relieved because I considered Andre the most talented drunk driver of our group. He made complete stops, used turn signals, didn't swerve, and always drove 5 miles per hour under the speed limit. If we got pulled over while Andre was driving, odds were it was not because of his driving. We exited the apartment and made a mad dash to the entry door that opened to the parking lot. We investigated the lot as well as the adjoining street for any sign of police activity. The coast looked clear, so we ran the last 50 feet to Jake's Oldsmobile. Andre did a quick inspection of the vehicle to ensure the headlights, taillights, and blinkers were in proper working condition. He found no problems and gave us a thumbs up to announce his approval. In less than a minute, we were driving out of the parking lot. A quick right onto Jewel Avenue, followed by a left onto Kipling Parkway, and it was less than a 10-minute drive until we reached the safe confines of the Lakehurst Park and Trapper's Glen subdivisions, our home turf. "Don't say a fucking word, I need to concentrate," Andre shouted, his hand secured at the 10 and 2 positions on the steering wheel. I felt obliged to grant his request, so I fastened my seatbelt, closed my eyes, and leaned back as Andre turned up the stereo. The opening drum beat and bass line of Creep by Radiohead echoed through the car speakers.